And the last thing is, we can hire folks, okay? We can hire, employers can hire folks. The one thing I always tell folks, when I'm in a reentry council meeting or when I'm in talking to community-based organizations, don't come to an employer and say, hire our folks because it's the right thing to do. Don't do that, because the minute you do that, that employer has just walked out the door. They may not have physically walked out the door, but mentally they have walked out the door. What you say is, hire our folks because they have skills, they are reliable, they're going to create value for your company, okay? And you're going to be delighted. They are some of the best workers you're ever going to have. I know that to be true from my workforce. I've got, we handle millions of dollars in cash at Goodwill, okay? We may handle millions of dollars of cash. I've got great former bank robbers that work for me, okay? They know cash, and they know how to handle cash, okay? And they know how to count every penny, okay? And they're great, I've got former drug dealers on it. They know community relations, okay? They know customers. They know what the customer wants, okay? And they know how to deliver to the customer, okay? That's who I want working for me, okay? So don't talk about it's the right thing to do. Talk in the language that an employer can understand, okay? The last thing is I want to say in terms of barriers, additional barriers, is opportunities and barriers is, for me as an employer, a lot of times the biggest barriers I have are the barriers that my employees are facing at times, whether it's transportation. I have an employee who used to show up for his shift at 5:30 in the morning, even though his shift didn't start till 7 o'clock in the morning. Why? Because he was a former gang member. He has not been involved in the gangs at all. He's still living in his community, and he has been targeted, okay? It is not okay to be a former gang member in certain neighborhoods in this town and basically demonstrating that there's an alternative way of life, okay? So in order for him not to get killed, he would show up at the office at the building at 5:30 in the morning because he could get out. That was how he'd get from his neighborhood to our headquarters on Mission and Van Ness. And then even though his shift would end at about 6 o'clock, he wouldn't leave until about 8:30, 9 o'clock, because that was the only way he could get, and he'd go a roundabout shift, okay? As an employer, it's very difficult for most employers to take that on, okay? We did. We basically spent some time understanding and changed his shift. It's a 24/7, let him start at 5:30, so he's not sitting around and stuff. But it also meant that we had to work with community-based organizations to help around this situation until ultimately the decision that this young man made with his wife and his 4 kids was that they had to relocate out of the neighborhood because basically the price on his head was so high, okay? But we need to be able to, so issues of transportation, okay? Monolingual, not being able, monolingual speakers, okay? We got a lot of monolingual speakers, okay? We need bilingual support services. We need VESL, vocational ESL programs, okay? And we need to be able to connect to those. We need to be able to connect to a lot of the wraparound support services as well as an employer, because as an employer, I can't do that, okay? I can't do that for every single one of my employees. But if I know that this employee of mine is connected to a set of wraparound services out there, okay, it makes it imminently more manageable to do this. I want them, they got to show up on time, they got to show up, they have to have the skills, and they got to show up dressed appropriate for the position, okay? And the reality is that that's what my employees do. They're great. I've got some of the best employees around, okay? They're smart, they're talented, they're motivated, okay? Folks coming out of the criminal justice system are far more motivated than my folks that aren't coming out of the criminal justice system, that are my employees, okay? So those are really important. But bring the employer to the table, allow us to participate in the conversation, allow us to connect with you once they get hired, okay? It's sort of sometimes what happens is you hire them, and it's sort of like the entire wraparound support system has disappeared. Well, it hasn't stopped. The needs that this person is having hasn't stopped. Wage garnishing, one of the biggest reasons for turnover we found at Goodwill for a while was the amount, their wages being garnished and how much was being garnished, and it was it was an impossible situation. So we work with child support now, an employer working with child support to say, what can we do here, okay? Because if basically they're earning, they may be earning $15 an hour, okay? But if between taxes and garnishing, they're coming home with $2, okay? They can't live. Okay, so these are the kinds of things we can do together as employers, as community-based organizations, and as institutions from the public sector around this. I will tell you that the success stories I have, okay, and you come in and see my employees, and I got some of the, as I said, I have the hardest working, some of the smartest. They're not just hard workers, they're smart workers. And that's what any employer wants. So what I'm going to do for you is if you know anyone that's looking for a job, we are always recruiting at Goodwill for good employees. So I have my cards here, and Stephanie Kim, who's one of our recruiters from HR, is in the audience. Talk to her. There's Stephanie. She's in the white blouse. Talk to her, because we definitely, this is what it's about. This is a part of our very talented workforce, and we need to make it that.
Thank you, Debbie. It's very heartening. Thank you.